So this X-Men 97 stuff, there's just one thing in here this Bo DeMeo says a lot of really interesting shit on Twitter, but there's one thing in here that's really interesting is where he talks about how Kevin kind of resented the show because people are using it as a standard to how bad it's gotten in the MCU.
Yeah,
because people were actually praising this and not some shit that he worked on, which kind of shows you this motherfucker's ego. He's been shitting all over Kevin Feige, which I think is interesting. I've talked to him in DMs actually, and he's told me some very interesting things that I can't share. But he's telling some really interesting shit on Twitter. This is the quote. Yeah, I was told he'd be happier. Fans and audiences weren't using as a referendum on what the MCU needs to do to be fixing itself. What makes it worse is that Kevin has nothing to do with hashtag X-Men 97 and could take no credit for it, which is true. So, and all this happened. People were praising this, saying if only we'd gotten some things like this in live action. And like they didn't even give them a rap party, which is interesting. He paid for it pocket.
Imagine hiring fans of the source material to make movies about the source material. You know what I mean?
This is how it should be.
Right.
But apparently not how it's done.
He was on his way to helping in the films, but that's kind of what this whole thing about. And he's positing that he was ousted because he was seen as a threat. And I totally believe it. Because the accusations they put out there were so...
Yeah, they were nasty.
Real that nasty. Makes a lot of sense. Right. This whole trend of whenever they adapt something from comics into, and it goes for anime as well, into live action or movies, it's probably because people who are ingrained in Hollywood feel threatened by people coming from comics who know the source material, so they try to tear them down. They don't want people that are actual comic fans coming into their space, quote unquote, to do a good job, to show them up.
Well, and you also had another situation where I remember before the show even came out, he did an interview and he was kind of insinuating in that interview that the only reason he was hired is because they wanted to bring Kevin Feige knew that he was black and gay, so he basically said they wanted me to bring the gay black experience to the X-Men, and that's why I think he was left alone. Because if you listen to the rest of this, though, it talks about how this Parliament, which basically replaced the creative committee that Ike Perlmutter had in place. So this Parliament is full of a bunch of quote unquote creative producers who always get credit on the movies and supposedly add to the stories, but all they're really doing is giving notes that suck. Yeah, because they have no clue what the they're talking about. Yeah, they don't.
There's a guy he talks about that is with Kevin Feige who's like not a comic guy. And doesn't want to hear about
Louis Esposito? Yeah, he's one of the worst, right? Like he's the guy that James Gunn was talking about not too long ago too. Where when James was saying like he basically threw him under the bus because not only that, Louis has been bitching about Kevin.
Marvel needs
everybody's
to go back,
been bitching about
Marvel needs to go back to its core audience and rely on them, and that's what will maybe help them limp through this. They need comic book guys in here. That's why they all need to go. All these people need to go. Kevin Feige needs to go. He's a snake. Snaked his way up to the top of Marvel, 100%. If you just follow the story.
I avoided this cartoon because they marketed it as the X-Men are gay and transgender and everything like that. And then when it came out, everybody was like, "Oh, it's good." You know what I mean? So I wonder if it just assumed that this guy was going to do this.
That's what I was thinking. He was saying in that interview is that that's what Kevin, or at least that's what I took away from it, was Kevin Feige only hired him because he was a black gay dude, and he saw it as, this guy can bring the gay black experience to X-Men. But much like how Bryan Singer was able to separate, his queerness away from X-Men, he saw it as, I can relate to this, but I'm not going to shove that into the movie, right? It's the same thing here. This guy, he grew up on X-Men, so he knows the shit. He's read the comics. It was the same thing that happened to him over at Witcher. because he was one of the people that was ousted along with Henry Cavill over there because he wanted to stick with the source material. And of course, the producers and the people that were running the show didn't want to. And that's the other biggest problem here we have, and that's what Marvel's full of.
Yeah,
I like that he's a fan. Who don't even like this
first.
Shit. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. These people don't even like this shit.
Yeah.
Well, that's what the problem is with him. Well, that's the problem that they have with him, is the fact that he is a fan first.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you that crack that Feige said about, well, we're trying to do something with Blade that's not just a guy in leather killing vampires. I guarantee you that was a crack at probably Bo, because that's probably what Bo told them. It was like, why are you guys overcomplicating this? It should just be a guy in leather killing vampires.
Right.
Yeah,
and that's what the fans want to see too.
Yeah,
but
I know for a
fact.
And I know for a fact what they've been trying to do, and this is why they've had issues, is they've been trying to make it about Blade's daughter and her little crew. And I have a feeling they're either going to kill Blade off early on, or he's going to be pushed to the background so badly. That's why Wesley Snipes didn't want anything to do with it at first. And that's why my guy who I used to co-write with was telling me all this stuff. And I knew that he was out because the day after that happened, they announced Marash Ali at that Comic-Con event before they had jack shit ready to go. And that's the exact same thing that they did to Norton after the Hulk, because they called Ruffalo and they said, if there's a limo outside of your house at 9 a.m., that means you're the new Hulk. And that's exactly what happened to Marash Ali.